Thanks to everyone. Thanks to everyone that has joined us today. It looks like we got 180 folks on the call, which is pretty impressive. So thanks to everyone for taking the time out to do that. So TLAC is a chapter or a committee of, excuse me, the 4 Texas chapters of CAI, Texas Legislative Action Committee. We call it TLAC for short. So you can see the executive team there. Myself as the chair. I was the vice chair the last legislative session with Chris Archambault, very capably being our founding chair. So we're grateful to him. And then our vice chair, new vice chair is Wendy Hazelwood, Secretary Dee Eaton, and then Treasurer Elizabeth Babin. And I think everybody is on the call today. So all of those folks. And then as delegates, so there's delegates that are appointed by each chapter in the state. So there are 20 delegates. So each chapter gets 5. Is that right, Jesus? Did I do that math? And then you'll see some asterisks next to a couple of names there on the delegates. And those are our new delegates that have just recently, after the last legislative session, have been appointed by their respective chapters. So we're glad that those folks are on board and helping out. So, I mean, it's really simple, right? You've got the CAI National Board of Trustees. They actually are the real appointees of the delegates after the chapters make their designations. And then the TLAC Executive Committee, we just mentioned those folks. And then there are several committees within TLAC that are really the ones getting the work done. So Communications Committee. So when you get, this today was put on by our Communications Committee. When you get an email from TLAC, that's put together by the Communications Committee. The Grassroots Committee, Bill Review Committee is a big one during the legislative session. And those guys and gals work really hard because they actually do a new bill review for literally hundreds of bills every week, and then turn that over to the bigger group of delegates for us to review. And then we take a position on every bill that we feel may have an impact on HOAs. And that helps guide our own efforts as we're in the Capitol and the efforts of of Black Ridge, our lobbyist team. And the Government Relations Committee is really getting up now. And we'll talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing there. Advisory Committee are folks that have asked to be involved, and we look for ways to get them involved. And so that's really a great place to get started. And then the Fundraising Committee, where that's why we're here today. We need funding. And so we're going to talk in detail about what that is. So we'll go to the next one. So talking about contributions, where do your contributions go? 95% of them go for governmental affairs and advocacy. So that means that's who's paying for Black Ridge, our lobbyist team. When we're doing a lunch and learn at the Capitol with legislators and their staff, it's paying for that. And all of the delegates of the advisory council, we're all paying our own expenses. So you're not paying for mileage back and forth to the Capitol or hotel when we stay overnight. We're 100% putting that out there and putting those dollars to work. So we feel really good about how we're spending your contributions. Just a little bit about Texas HOAs. These are stunning numbers, right? 6 million Texans live in more than 21,000, almost 22,000 community associations. And then 203,900 serve as volunteer leaders in their community associations each year. As an organization, we should be really powerful in Austin, and we need to really effectively leverage those numbers for our benefit. Next slide, Jesus.
Hey, Bill, it's Cass. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. Stuff happens.
I had a miscalendering, I guess, so I really apologize.
No worries. I think this is your slide. Do you want to jump in? Or I can keep on going. Let me
Yeah,
know.
why don't you go for a second? I'm trying to get
Yep.
my wits about me now. I was
No,
not.
that's good. That's good. So, how and why does TLAC affect you, right? As a community association, we're working to really advocate for the community association. That's our core mission. And we're working to provide a seat at the table so that when things are being decided in Austin, that they're listening to your voice um, as a community association volunteer leader, looking out for the best interest of your community. That's mission one, and where we spend most of our time. We're trying to provide information and resources so that you, as a volunteer, know how you can contribute, how you can help, and how you can advocate for yourself. And then, we've got a very broad base in the state of Texas in terms of who we represent, who TLAC represents. And so it really is a grassroots, boots on the ground perspective that we can provide to legislators as they're making decisions, as they're proposing legislation, and as they're deciding whether or not they're going to support legislation. And then, community managers, management companies, we're, again, providing a voice and a way for all of us to get involved and to make a difference. And we know that the health of community associations as a group affects, it's a huge economy that are community associations. And so we're all in that economy as management companies and as business partners. So healthy community associations lead to a healthy economy. So let's talk a little bit about the 88th Texas Legislature. We've had a lot of after action webinars like this where we've gone through everything that happened. And it really was, from our perspective, from TLAC's perspective, from community associations perspective, it was a good legislative session. There were a lot of really bad bills that we were honestly scared were going to pass. They had traction. They had people talking positively about them, and really through TLAC's efforts, through the advisory council's efforts, through community association volunteers that answered the call to go and talk to their legislatures, we were able to get 6 different chicken bills, right, that were defeated. A bill that would have allowed homeowners to put in a wind power structure in their backyard. I mean, just some really things that, if you think about what the impact could have been, would have been really bad. So we're happy that that's behind us and that we survived. And then we're getting to work. We're not slowing down. Just because the session is over, we're already geared up for the next session. And we're working now, have already started working on continuing to build relationships. What we want is when a legislator gets a call from one of their constituents and says something bad, terrible about their HOA, first of all, they don't assume that it's true, right? They're going to give us the benefit of the doubt. And then they're going to know someone that they can call and get feedback on, that they can get a perspective on, and so we can give them that other side. And then the other piece of it is sometimes associations make poor decisions. I'm just going to say it. And we can then be the sounding board to pick up the phone, to call the manager, to call the attorney for that association, and to say, hey, this is getting out there. This is the impact that it's going to have on us as a state. And so, maybe we need to rethink where this association is on this, and what can we do to sway them into a more reasonable position on whatever that matter is. Sometimes it's just asking them to listen. So how can you help? I think that first one is be reasonable in decision making, and you would be surprised maybe at some of the stories that we heard from legislators that they've heard from their constituents about decisions that were made by their HOA. Many, many, many times there was another side to that story, and we were able to fill in those details to great effect. But sometimes it was really difficult to justify, what we were being told. And then we use that as an opportunity to go back and try to educate the other folks involved and to see if we can come up with a better resolution to it. So educate yourselves, get involved. develop a relationship with your legislator. That is really critical. You, they need to hear from you now so that during the heat of the session, when you call them, they're going to take your call because they know who you are and that you're a supporter of theirs. And then use TLAC as a resource. You saw the list of delegates. There's a list of delegates on the CAI website. Jesus can point us to that with their contact information. And so, reach out and ask us if you've got a question, if you need help. And then help spread the word to your communities. And this is particularly true for managers and for a lot of our business partners. Add TLAC to your meeting agenda and have a discussion about what TLAC is and why it's important. We've put together a little two-sided, one-page flyer that you can include in your board packet that's really descriptive. You can ask a TLAC delegate to come and speak at your next board meeting. We've got 20 folks that are all across the state that have expressed a desire and a willingness to do that. And we really want to get in front of as many people as we can right now before the next session starts.
Bill, if I can interject just for a minute here. And
Please
again,
jump in.
Everybody, I had obviously I had a calendaring mistake here this morning. I had this set for another date, but this is a potential to be a very strong organization for our industry. And that all starts with National. National has laid a foundation for this to be a place where our industry can really further itself in the legislative session or the legislature. This is obviously our first year in getting started with this, and we really made a lot of really great strides this year. But I think through some of the previous slides that you've seen, we have statewide exposure. We have a really strong foundation in National. We have 4 really strong chapters out there. And the more involvement, the more momentum that we can get, we can really do some really great things for our industry. Understand we have challenges. There are other industries out there that pick and choose, but they kind of come at, the HOA industry very strongly. And a lot of that's based on kind of one-off experiences. Somebody happened to somebody in their association, and therefore the entire HOA industry is bad. And we see that a lot. And so what I think that would really help us is the more involvement we have, the more people that they're getting involved in supporting TLAC. We can change that narrative to say, look, the majority of the HOA industry is very beneficial, very functional. We have a very strong national presence, a very strong national basis and foundation, a very strong statewide foundation. And yes, sometimes bad things happen, but that is not a reflection of the industry in general. And that's really been TLAC's goal this year, is to try to educate these legislators that just because an association may have made a bad decision about something, that's not reflective of the industry in general. This is a very strong industry. There's a reason for HOAs. Municipalities want HOAs. Builders want HOAs. They provide incredible service. So getting involved is really at the forefront, and we're here to help. We have a lot of access, a lot of resources through National. We're developing more and more relationships here within the state itself. And so if you want to be involved, if you want more information, we're happy to provide it. And we would love to have more involvement from anybody that we can. On our side, we're trying to do better as well. We're trying to disseminate as much information to people nationwide or statewide. So if you want to be on our mailing list, our communications division or our communications group within the organization is doing better at getting out what's going on with HOA legislation, what issues can affect us, who legislators are that we need to contact. So being on that mailing list, attending our rally day in Austin. For those of you that came this year, it was a great presence and we're really appreciative, but we want to make that stronger. We're going to start doing more statewide things. We're looking at having potentially a statewide education day. And so this organization is going to grow. It's got the ability to grow. It's got the ability to do some really good things. So the more that we can get your guys' involvement, or anybody that is not involved already. For the people that are, we're really appreciative, but the people that aren't yet, we'd love to have you. There's a lot of things to do out there, and a lot of things that we want to do as a group and for our industry. So these things that Bill just talked about are just great ways to get there. So Bill, do you want to go to the last slide, or Jesus?
Here we are. So everybody get your cameras out, get your phones out, hold it up to that QR code, and it'll take you right to the contribution page.
So money is important. This organization is funded nationally to a certain extent, by each chapter to a certain extent. So your dollars already are at work to the extent that you're members of CAI, and we're very appreciative for that. But it costs a lot of money to make these things happen, and most of that is in the lobbying fees. The great majority of that. We have to have a strong lobbyist presence at the Capitol. We do, through Blackridge, who is our lobbyist. They're very well respected and do a lot of hard work for us. They're still working for us right now in these interim sessions, but it can't happen without this. We have such a broad base that our dollar-to-door program, we really feel, is a way for each HOA to not have to do a significant contribution, but that adds up quickly because we have so many HOA members across the state of Texas. So the more that we can get your support for this, the better. As business partners, as property management companies, to the extent that you can help support us as well, then that obviously is something that we're really appreciative of. But it takes money to make it happen. And so anything that you can do, we've tried to make this here very easy for you to, either through the online icon or through checks or whatever, to make a donation today. And I'm going to pay my penance right now. I tell you what, for every dollar that's donated today, I'll match it through my firm. So,
Wow.
Really like for you guys to come out and support this organization. I'm a strong believer in TLAC. I've been involved with supporting HOA legislation now for over 20 years. And this organization has the ability to do some great things, but we need your help to do it. And so to the extent that you can do it, and if you can't do it today and you want to know how to do it through the Dollar to the Door program, let us know. And we're happy to walk you kind of through that. I know budget season may have already kind of passed, or we're right in the middle of it right now, but that's what's really going to drive this in the end. If we can get the homeowners associations to understand the need for this and to contribute to this and put it in their annual budget of just $1 to door. And if it's 25 units, it's $25, but it's $25 that adds up quickly. So if anybody needs any more information on that, step out there and let us know. But we want your support, and we're happy to support it as well. Bill, anything else on that?
Man, that's a strong ending right there. Thank you for that.
I'm so embarrassed to be late, I cannot tell you.
That's huge. That's huge. And I guess that's the price you pay for being late, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a big one, but we're happy to pay it. So anyway, are we going to move into questions now, or how are we going to do that?
We do have a few questions in the chat. And so one of the questions, which is a great one, is, is there a charge to the HOA for a TLAC delegate to attend a board meeting? And, no, there's not. And that's the short answer. I mean, Cass makes what, I think $600 an hour when you call him on the phone, but for him to come to your TLAC meeting,
I look like I make $600 an hour.
It's $0. But no, that's the commitment that all of the delegates have made to be available for that. So that's a great question. Let's see, how do we get the TLAC handout? I think Jesus has said he's going to send that out. And then Jesus, if you'll take it to the last slide, if you don't mind. And so there, is a phone number so you can reach TLAC staff if you've got a question, and then the TLAC at caitexas.org email address which is a great resource if you need some specific information. If you need a delegate to come to one of your meetings, if you want a copy of these slides, or have another question, then that's a great way to get your questions answered. Are there any other questions in the chat? Did we get them all, Jesus?
That's all of them. Excuse me, there's a couple more.
Okay. So do you work with developers at all to partner on issues at the state level? Yes, we do. And so, we work with the Builders Association. We have ongoing dialogues with them, both at an organization level between TLAC directly and them, and then also with our lobbyists, Blackridge, reaching out to their team that way. Likewise with the Realtors Association, Texas Realtors, we've got ongoing dialogues there. So yeah, we are always looking at sort of like-minded organizations, and it's going to be different for different legislation, right? And so, we might be able to partner with the realtors on one thing and partner with the builders on another. So absolutely. And
Yeah,
then,
just to piggyback on that, Bill, I worked with the developers on 2 bills during this session that were mostly related to construction issues, but we have definitely reached out to them, and just as Bill said, to the realtors, to municipalities, everybody. Our job is really to know that if they have an issue with HOAs, or they have some issues that they want to try to resolve, to work with us or come to us first, and to get that dialogue going. And we have a really good dialogue going now after this session.
that is true.
Sherry, I absolutely will pay up today.
Thank you, Sherry. And then there was a question about the special session, and we hear rumors that Abbott has said, after this current impeachment trial that's going on, that he, again, it's rumors that he intends to call a special session for the purpose of passing I think 76 or 77 bills that were vetoed by him after the session ended. So we're in particular, we were working hard on a bill to get passed. So we're hoping that one does.
Yeah, and that's when we talk about the work continues. Just because the session's over, I mean, we're right now, kind of engrossed in that. Governor Abbott, as most of you may know, did kind of veto a number of bills because he wasn't getting what he wanted on his budget. He thinks he may have that resolved, and so there is definitely talk of a special session being set, and I anticipate probably that, I think one's going to be. We'll wait and see what happens, and then hopefully our work on that bill will come back into. That was some cleanup from 1588, which was the session before last, which was a pretty big bill for the HOA industry, and that was another bill that TLAC really worked hard on, and Bill did a lot of work on that this year of getting some cleanup done on that bill, and we're hoping that Governor Abbott sees his way back to remove that veto so that bill can go through.
Any other questions? Anything that we can?
There was one right there. Were there
over
changes to the laws during this session? Bill, I'm going to let you talk about that from a general sense, and then I can talk about it from a more specific sense.
Yeah, we've got, I think, a slide presentation that we can send out to the group, and I think there's recordings of the legislative review that we did a couple of weeks ago. Jesus, do you have that you can share it?
I do. I'll include it in this mass email I'm putting together for everybody.
Okay. All right. And that can answer it, I think, a lot better than what we can sort of off the cuff. But Cass, you may have some specific comments about some of the bills that you worked on.
There were 2 big bills that happened in the construction defect arena, changing the timing for your ability to bring a claim for construction defects for single family homes and for townhomes under 3 units, some changes in the laws a little bit under the Residential Construction Liability Act, which are, important, but are, can be dealt with. But the biggest one is the changing in the statute of repose, which lowered the time limit from 10 years to 6 years for single family homes and for townhomes under three unit or 3 stories. So anyway, if anybody needs more information on that, I'm happy to talk through, but those were the biggest ones in my arena. There were other ones in the general HOA arena, which, like I said, is in the handout that we'll send out.
Great. Anything else? We've got the room for an hour, so if anybody has any other questions, we're happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll give you back the rest of your day, and hope to see you at future TLAC events and then see you at the Capitol.
Thanks, you guys. Again, I'm so sorry for being late.
No, stuff happens, as they say.
Apologize, Bill. Okay.
All right. Y'all
Have
take
a-
care.
You all.
Bye-bye.